Risk taker, businessman, sports and entertainment promoter, and passionate about making Florida the best place to live, shop, work, and play. It's time for the Joe Mullins Radio Show.
Hello, Florida. This is Joe Mullins of the Live, Work, Shop, Play Show, and welcome to another amazing weekend. And I have got a very special guest, and we're going to jump right into the show. A very special guest with me today. He's been on the show before. This guy is a true patriot and warrior. I got a guy that has fought hard over the last few years for the voices that have been unheard for so long, and that's the Florida Voices of Unborn. We've got with us Andrew Sherville. Andrew, thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you, Joe, for having me.
So, Andrew, a lot has happened since we last talked. When you were last on the show, there was an amendment in Florida that was being put out. There was so much deception by the liberals trying to make people think they're signing to protect life, protect babies, protect families. And yet, when you looked into it, you realized you were signing it and supporting the death of babies, the murder of babies. And when we looked into it a little more, the amendment was written so confusing that when you go in to vote, you weren't sure if you were voting for to save a life or to take a life. And it was very scary. But your organization, your group really got out and hit the streets, got a lot of people. You did what so many people say: if you want to win an election or win a amendment or win in an election, you got to get out to the people. And you really did that. Tell us a little bit about how it all ended up and how you feel like everything is today.
Well, it was all in God's hands. When we last talked, Joe, I believe it was in June of 2023, the pro-aborts had just started their petition gathering for this heinous proposed constitutional amendment that would have enshrined the right to kill a baby up until the moment of birth. And so we were at Florida Voice for the Unborn, which, by the way, to remind your listeners, is a statewide grassroots pro-life lobbying organization that only focuses on issues impacting the unborn. We're based in Tallahassee. But we decided, you're right, we have to get out to the people, because those are the Florida citizens were going to decide ultimately whether this proposed constitutional amendment would pass or not. And we started a Decline to Sign campaign to educate our fellow citizens on what this petition would really do, what this proposed amendment would do, and also to dissuade them from signing the petition in the first place. Now, unfortunately, they were able just to get in under the deadline by February 1st of 2024, and they got the required number of signatures, and our Secretary of State's office here in Florida certified it. We were also hoping and praying that the Florida Supreme Court, which under Florida's law has the right to throw off proposed constitutional amendments from the ballot, if they don't meet certain criteria. We were really praying hard that they would do that, especially since we have a supermajority conservative state Supreme Court with 5 out of the 7 current justices appointed by Governor DeSantis. Unfortunately, just like a lot of the courts, we were fooled because they voted 4-3 to allow this amendment on the ballot. So then that decision came down on April 1st of 2024. And then it was really from then till Election Day in November of 2024, it was really not only educating our fellow citizens, but getting the right voters to the polls to vote no on what became known as Amendment 4. And it was a huge undertaking. I mean, Florida Voice for the Unborn was one of many different groups throughout the state working on the grassroots level to get the message out about how horrendous the amendment was. And also, we at Florida Voice for the Unborn took a little bit of a different tact, because we knew we were going to be absolutely underfunded. The other side is always very well funded, and they put in about $110 million into their campaign. We knew they were going to have a lot of advertising. We knew they were going to do a lot of deception. But what we decided to do was we were going to hit our base. And so what we did at Florida Voice of the Unborn is we designed specific literature that was appealing to pro-Trump voters. And so we were the only statewide organization in Florida that had door hangers and palm cards that said on the front, President Trump's decision, I think it came down about August 30th of 2024. They said, vote no on Amendment 4, and here's the reason. And then on the back, it showed the Democrat Party's support for Amendment 4, and a picture of she who should not be named, Kamala Harris, and she's in the dustbin of history, but she was on the back. And so we targeted Republican voters. We had the old-fashioned list, Joe, where we went around in the precincts in different parts of Florida, and we went to registered Republican voters who had voted at least twice in a Florida general election since 2016. And so that we distributed nearly 60,000 pieces of our door hangers and palm cards. And we had captains, all grassroots supporters, volunteers all throughout the state doing that. And you know what, Joe? All of our efforts, not just our group, but all the many different groups together pulled it through because we won by about 300,000 votes. So, in Florida, you need 60% of the electorate to pass a proposed constitutional amendment. And we just came under that with 57%. So every vote counts, every door knock, every palm card handed out, every place I went around the state speaking, and it was just nonstop. We were distributing them everywhere. I mean, it was really an authentic grassroots effort. And so God pulled out this miracle, and now we are looking forward to the future about how we can now really make Florida a true, authentic pro-life state.
Andrew, you guys did a tremendous job, and so many organizations like Mom for Liberty, Moms of America, pro-life groups did an amazing job. And I've never understood, to just tell our listeners and ask them to really think about this. I've never understood how somebody can support pro-choice, the death of babies. And I just wonder in my mind, what if their parents supported that and believed in that? Would they not be here? And it's a moment decision. And a lot of people go, you know what? I had that moment. I heard a judge down in South Florida talk about how her life changed when she got pregnant, and she chose to not keep the child. And she would never be a judge today, probably wouldn't be this or that. And I thought to myself, what about that little child? What about that child that God sent to you? Do you not realize what you have destroyed and lost and ended? And I could not believe the lady never ended up having children. And I thought to myself, the most beautiful gift I've had in my life is having kids and being able to be, the best title I have is being a father. Although I've got a 15-year-old son now and a 19-year-old daughter, that I start going, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But you know what? They're amazing experiences and gifts from God. And I just wonder what would people be like if their parents, I always tell somebody, you better thank your parents they didn't believe like you believe, or you may not be here. And they just look at me with this mean snarl. Now, let me ask you this. Are we able to breathe now? Is it over? Have we won the battle and it's not a problem? Or is there still, like many other things, they're just out in the parking lot doing push-ups, getting stronger, and they're going to come back with a new approach to try to take this?
Well, Joe, during the 2025 legislative session, which just ended, the regular one, it's been extended a little bit because of some budget issues, but it ended on May 2nd. And on that day, thanks to groups like Florida Voice for the Unborn that were leading the way, we were able to get a new law passed and immediately signed into law by the governor, which is almost unheard of because there's especially this session, there's been a lot of tension up in Tallahassee between the legislative branch and the executive branch. But on this, they came together. And the new law was reforming the way we amend our state constitution, in particular with these so-called citizens initiatives that collect all these signatures from people. And so what they did was, based on a huge report by the Secretary of State's office that showed that, in particular, the organizers for Amendment 4 used a lot of deception and outright fraud to gather these signatures. Something needed to be done to tighten up the process. And so what the legislature did was they put together, after all the sausage making of the legislative process and all the back and forth, and we weren't even sure if it was actually going to end up getting done. It was. But there were so many good provisions in this new law that has tightened up the process so much that I think the pro-abortion side will not be coming back in 2026 to restart their petition because it's very late now in the cycle anyway. But going further than that, it's for 2028 or 2030, because they can only get it in on an election year. I think that possibility has been foreclosed, and not only for the abortion industry, but really for a lot of these other radical liberal interest groups. Because let's be real, those are the types of groups that use this process. They want to get around our conservative legislature and our conservative governor. So the only way they can do that is to pour in all these millions of dollars with these crazy things they want to institute right into our state's governing document. So this is a good thing. And recently, on June 4th, a very liberal federal judge actually upheld the overwhelming bulk of this law. So we're on good standing right now.
That is so here, and it's so nice to be able to have a breath. But I really think that just like we see, evil never goes away; it only gets stronger. And God's He has prophesied the world to only get worse. So it's so important to stay strong and aware. Now, you are not slowing down. You still have events. You've got an event coming up in in our home area where we started our radio show, where I was a county commissioner. And I love the community because it's so conservative, so beautiful. But you are doing an event in Palm Coast, Florida. So you've not slowed down at all. You're still working hard. Tell us a little bit about this event coming up, the date and time, and how people can get engaged.
Sure, Joe. Well, on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade's reversal, we have been holding what we call our annual Dobbs Day banquet and workshop, and that's named after the U.S. Supreme Court decision that reversed Roe versus Wade. So it occurs every year on the actual anniversary, which is June 24th. This year it's a Tuesday, and we've been holding this event in different parts of Florida every year. So it's obviously it's only been 3 years since Roe versus Wade has been overturned. This is our third annual event. And this year we're hosting it in Palm Coast. And it's going to be at the Palm Coast Community Center off of Palm Coast Parkway. The program is going to start at 3:30. And the details for the event, including the tickets and all that, you can find on FloridaVoiceForTheUnborn.com. But it's going to be a way that we as a pro-life movement can celebrate our biggest win, which is the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and plan for the future, especially here in Florida.
Now organizations like yours are very strong, but there are also organizations out there that oppose and fight against what we're believing, what us Christians and parents believe in, and that's the right to life. What is your comments to a young child that's hearing both sides, or a young teenager or a young kid that's hearing both sides? What are some of the words of wisdom and that you can share and experiences that they would incur if they made that decision? What kind of repercussions are going to happen, and then what kind of help they can get if they choose not to go down that path and they choose to support the right of life?
Well, I would say this. We have so much access to information now, good and bad, that you should decide for yourselves, because we have a propaganda organizations like Planned Parenthood that come into the schools and spread lies that this growing a human being in the womb is not a human being. It's just a clump of cells. It's just meaningless. You're going to be fine. All your problems will go away if you just eliminate this child and get on with your life. We know from testimonies of so many people that have been wounded, in particular women and fathers, who have been wounded by the abortion industry, emotionally, physically, mentally, because they've been sold a lie. And so I would say investigate for yourselves. There are so many health centers out there for women that are finding themselves, and teenagers and young people and college students that are finding themselves in difficult circumstances, in unplanned pregnancies, because we know this is life. This is what happens. It's happened from the beginning of time. And but there are so many good people out there that are willing and able to help you through what we would call, an unplanned or difficult pregnancy, and want to help you support that child long after you birth the child.
Andrew, I'm very public about this, and I think it's important. And you mentioned something, the propaganda and the craziness that they sell. They sell, hey, this is a quick solution to a problem that if you don't do something on could haunt you the rest of your life. And I'm in treatment, I'm in recovery. I was in a treatment center for a good 3 months, sitting with people, talking, and it was amazing. Most of the women there were, most of the people there were women, and the women were housewives or working careers, and they had a very bad wine addiction. And when we talked to them and they really got to working and they started speaking out, they started speaking about something they never wanted to talk about and never thought they could. And it usually, most of them began with the part that they got pregnant when they were younger, they got an abortion, and they just couldn't live with themselves. And all they thought about was that child that they lost. And they went on and had other children, and they see these children, they're amazing. And they just think, oh my God, what would that first child be like? What would have happened? What kind of life would they have? Would that child have been our next president? Would that child have been our next governor? Or would that child be our next entertainer or super athlete? Or would that child just been someone that loved someone so much and had another child? So you stop a generation, and you stop many generations when you do that. And the mental pain and the mental guilt was so strong that they try to drink it away. And I sat in there and heard that and thought, this is something that you don't hear from Planned Parenthood. This is not something Planned Parenthood wants to talk about, or organizations like them, and tell them, hey, you're going to make this decision, and it's going to be a quick solution to a problem that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And the problem is being you murdered a life. And that's usually what they start with. And I just sat in there shocked. Do you hear this story a lot working with people and having them come back and say, hey, I did this, I went through it, I realize now the damage it caused is far greater than anything I could have ever imagined, and having that child not having that child was the worst mistake of my life. Have you heard this story?
Well, absolutely, Joe. And some of our best and greatest pro-life advocates are women who have experienced abortions themselves and have converted over and have gone through that grieving process and made a conversion and recognized, that what they were sold was a complete lie. And, we as a pro-life movement, I think are doing a much better job in being compassionate, because every American family has been touched by abortion in some way. Every American family, whether people want to admit it or not, or everybody knows somebody that has had an abortion. And a lot of times it's people very close to you, or these are hidden secrets. It's because of the prevalence of abortion for the past 50 years. So the overturning of Roe versus Wade, which was a great thing, did not eliminate the impact that legalized abortion through all 9 months really has had on our society. And so there are so many people out there that have been wounded, but are, like you said, in recovery, and they have become our greatest pro-life advocates by sharing their testimony. And so we welcome everybody in. This is not a judgmental movement. This is a life-affirming movement. This is something that we want everyone to be truly happy, and we want everybody to be truly welcoming to every unborn child. And so we know that abortion does the opposite. It destroys people's lives, not only destroys the unborn child's life, it destroys the mother's life, the father's life, the other relatives. And it causes a callousness in society because it's violence against our most innocent, helpless individuals in their mother's womb. And it pits different people against each other, mothers against fathers, grandparents against their children. It's really horrendous, and that's the way the devil works. And so, if we want to address all these other evils that are going on in our society, we have to really start with addressing the violence that is continuing to really plague Florida right now, even with our heartbeat law in effect since May 1st of 2024. We still have abortions taking place at a very huge clip in the state of Florida prior to 6 weeks gestation. And then also because there's so many exceptions in the law right now, there are also many abortions occurring even, in the second trimester as well. And so, we have to be cognizant of this fact and not grow apathetic. Just because we have a law on the books doesn't mean that the abortion industry, as you said, will give up. They will find all sorts of devious ways to promote their agenda. And one of the biggest ones is selling these abortion pills, sometimes legally and through the black market.
Andrew, that is such deceitful stuff, and so much stuff that you just see the other side work at. And it's obvious they're not going to go away, and they're just going to try harder and harder. Roe versus Wade was an amazing thing. We were cast under that spell for so many years, but it's definitely a time to celebrate, a time to be happy and thankful that God won back in 2024, that we came together and woke up and we saw what was going on. Let's tell us a little bit more, one more time, about the event, how we can come out and celebrate, how people can grow this strength. So when the next wave attack comes, we're ready, and we're ready to fight. And maybe we show them so much unity, they walk away from this battle realizing they're not going to win. Andrew, tell us a little bit more about the event that's coming up.
Tuesday, June 24th, in Palm Coast, Florida, at the Palm Coast Community Center. We're celebrating the 3rd anniversary of Roe versus Wade's reversal. And we're also planning for the future here in Florida to make Florida a truly pro-life state. So there'll be speakers, there's going to be a catered buffet, we're going to have lively discussion, we'll get take-home material, there's going to be music and prayer, there's going to be a video and award presentations to grassroots pro-life activists, and the tickets are only $50 a piece, but you must purchase them in advance. There's no tickets going to be sold at the door for security reasons. So you can find all that information and purchase your ticket on FloridaVoiceForTheUnborn.com. All one word. You can find everything there. Everybody is welcome. And so we want to, have a joyous spirit, but also recognizing that the work is not done and likely won't be done for some time. So we have to continue to fight.
Andrew, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you at the event. It's going to be such an amazing celebration and time. I encourage our listeners from all over, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Daytona, drive up, come see this event, come celebrate, and let's show the rest of the state of Florida why we are not going to sit back and let them win this battle. The rest of the country, let's show them why Florida continues to be the model state of the country, and show them that we stand for life, we stand with God, and we stand for these little babies. We want to give them a strong voice that they they can hear, we want to give them a strong voice that can rain out to the world that they deserve a chance at life. Thank you, Andrew. And remember, have a great weekend. Live, work, shop, play in Florida.